What's up, everybody? And today we're checking out 5 reasons US aircraft carriers are nearly impossible to sink. I'll be very possible to sink. Very easy to sink because I've just ate a lot of curry and a lot of naan and a lot of onion bhajis. And I am very, very capable of sinking if I was in the ocean right now. As always, this is by US Military News. If you want to watch the original video without me waffling over the top of it, you can do that in the description down below. Listen, guys, all you boomers that comment, who's the guy in the corner waffling on? It'd be good if it wasn't for him talking over it. That's the whole point of the channel. Go back. Anyone who watches the channel has been here. Any of the OGs, even the new people who are here for my commentary. Go back to some of the videos from the past few weeks and look at the comments. Every now and again, you get one person that's just like, who's the guy in the corner? So I just think I watch them and I sit on the sofa downstairs and I look through the comments and I start giggling to myself. Anyway, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Specifically, subscribe. We are at 493,000, and I think by the end of April we can get to 500,000. And all you've got to do is subscribe. Let me see. How many subscribers did we get last week? Last month we got 6.7. So it'd be close. It'd be close. But I honestly think we can do it. And if we do it at the end of April, even if it's in May, whatever. Even if it's the end of May, even if it's not till Christmas, when we get to 500,000, we're going to have a party. It's going to be grand. See this mead? I've told you before. I'll tell you right now, we're going to be drinking it. We'll be drinking it on channel. We'll be playing some games. I don't know what games we're going to play. I don't know what we're going to do on the stream, but we're going to party. And it's going to be lovely. And we're going to have a ton of fun. All right, guys and gals. US Military News. 5 reasons US aircraft carriers are nearly impossible to sink. Let's make me head small. And let's watch this. Subbies are on. Let's go. Nice music. US Military News. Very, very good channel. Go on, lads.
Large deck nuclear-powered aircraft carriers are the signature expression of American military power.
Hold on, this isn't the guy that's usually talking on US Military News, is it? Who's this guy? Who's this guy? This isn't, I mean, it's a pretty old video, 2019.
No other combat system available to US warfighters comes close to delivering so much offensive punch for months at a time without requiring land bases near the action.
True.
As a result, the 10 carriers in the current fleet are in continuous demand from regional commanders.
Well, let's be honest of what they actually are. Because they're not really aircraft carriers. They're floating cities. Let's be honest with you. The floating cities out there, the amount of stuff that they have on them, the amount of resources they can carry, means that every other ship uses it as a place to resupply. It's a mini city. Let's call them what they are. The size of them. Look at the size of them. Massive.
So much so that extended overseas combat tours are becoming the norm.
Our little
the bottom
minions.
line on aircraft carrier survivability is that only a handful of countries can credibly pose a threat to America's most valuable warships, and short of using nuclear weapons, none of those is likely to sink one. The vulnerability issue is harder to address because putting 5,000 sailors and 6 dozen high-performance aircraft on a $10 billion warship creates what military experts refer to as a very lucrative target.
I mean, yeah, like if you think about if the US went to war and someone sunk one of them, oh my God, it would be like all over the news. Like it would be the biggest thing to happen since World War II. Let's be honest.
Taking one out would be a big achievement for America's enemies,
and
a big setback for America's military. However, the likelihood of any adversary actually achieving that without using nuclear weapons is pretty close to zero.
Yeah.
It isn't going to happen, and here are 5 big reasons why.
Let's guesstimate it. Let's guess other aircraft, other ships being around it. That's number one. I'm thinking aircraft. I think would be a big deterrent. Anti-air missile technology. I think that would be another one. Incredible radar system. I think that'll be another one. What else? That might be it. I can't think of any more. Number 1, let's have a look.
Number 1. Large deck carriers are fast and resilient.
Oh. They're just big boys. They're just big boys, and they're fast and they're resilient.
Nimitz-class carriers of the type that dominate the current fleet, like the Ford-class carriers that will replace them, are the biggest warships ever built. They have 25 decks, standing 250 feet.
25 decks. 25. Christ on a bike. That's mental, isn't it? 25 decks. 250 feet in height. That's quarter of a kilometer. No, what am I talking about? That'd be 250 meters. 250 feet in height is mental. I'm back in the UK now, so I'm working in meters. So when I saw 250 feet, I just automatically thought of meters for some reason. I gotta go back into my US mind here. I've been living in the US for 9 years. Come on, get back into it, Luke. You're watching a video about US stuff. All right? We're gonna go back to feet in yards and inches. Like it's the Stone Age.
In height and displace 100,000 tons of water. With hundreds of watertight compartments and thousands of tons of armor, no conventional torpedo or mine is likely to cause serious damage. And because carriers are constantly moving when deployed at up to 35 miles per hour, fast enough to outrun submarines, finding and tracking them is difficult.
How fast do submarines go? How fast do they actually go? Because I don't know, actually.
Within 30 minutes after a sighting by enemies, the area within which a carrier might be operating has grown to 700 square miles. After 90 minutes, it's expanded to 6,000 square miles.
Mental.
Number 2. Carrier defenses are formidable.
This is what I was saying about like anti-missile technology. This is my thing. We got one of these guys. I forgot what they're called. They're like minions shooting out of their genitals, don't they? Let's be honest. That's exactly how you'd think a minion would do that as well.
Equipped with extensive active and passive defenses for defeating threats such as low-flying cruise missiles and hostile submarines. These include an array of high-performance sensors, radar-guided missiles, and 20mm Gatling guns that shoot 50 rounds per second. The carrier air wing of 60-plus aircraft includes a squadron of early warning radar planes that can detect approaching threats, including radar periscopes, over vast distances, and helicopters equipped for anti-submarine, anti-surface, and counter-mine warfare. All of the carrier's defensive sensors and weapons are netted together through an onboard command center for coordinated action against adversaries.
Yeah, comms. I've gone over that loads in videos and how information is the most important thing, right? As soon as you've got comms with other vehicles, whether that be in the sea or in the air or whatever, it's incredibly important. We gotta love it, haven't we? We can play that noise all day. Go on. Oh, a little bit different this time.
Number 3. Carriers do not operate alone.
This was another one that I guessed. My presumption is it would have other ships around it.
Carriers typically deploy as part of a carrier strike group that includes multiple guided missile warships equipped with the Aegis combat system.
I mean, they're not usually this big. My presumption is, well, is that 2 aircraft carriers or is that another one in the middle, a small one? I don't think it is. I think that's just 2 aircraft carriers. So this might be 2 groups rather than like a display. It might be 2 of the groups that have got together and they're doing this for photo ops, you know?
Aegis is the most advanced air and missile defense system in the world, capable of defeating every potential overhead threat, including ballistic missiles. It's linked to other offensive and defensive systems on board US surface combatants that can defeat submarines, surface ships, and floating mines, or attack enemy sensors needed to guide attacking missiles.
I said that as well, didn't I, about radar technology and sensors. I think that would be a big one. Also, my wonder with this is, my presumption is they'd probably have a submarine in there as well. 1 or 2 submarines around the area. You can't see them, but they're probably looking after their aircraft carrier as well. There's probably some submarines under there swimming about, getting up to no good, having fun under there.
In combination with the carrier air wing, these warships can quickly degrade enemy systems used to attack the strike group. Carrier strike groups often include 1 or more stealthy attack subs.
God, I can read this guy's mind. I'm unreal at this, aren't I? I just know. I just know. I've watched enough videos now. I'll make the videos myself. I can make the videos myself these days.
Capable of defeating undersea and surface threats.
Bum bum serious music.
Number 4. Navy tactics maximize survivability.
I feel like this is I don't know if this is a real excuse for not getting hit, Navy tactics, because everyone's really got that. Yes, the US might have better tactics, but it doesn't mean that other militaries don't have their own tactics that the US don't know about, and that's the truth. Whether you agree or disagree, and I would certainly say that the US is one of, if not the best military tactics in the world when it comes to the Navy. Doesn't mean that they don't know or anticipate something that an enemy might do, right? I mean, look at back when the Royal Navy was the biggest navy in the world and the strongest navy in the world. They still had ships that were sunk by the Spanish and stuff like the Portuguese and stuff like that, right? And it's not because the British weren't the best with naval tactics, which they were. It's just that sometimes it just doesn't always work, right? And so this one I feel like is a bit of a maybe.
Although
Maybe.
U.S. aircraft carriers are protected by the most potent, multi-layer defensive shield ever conceived, they do not take chances when deployed near potential adversaries. Their operational tactics have evolved to minimize risk while still delivering the offensive punch that is their main reason for existing. For instance, a carrier will generally not operate in areas where mines might have been laid until the area has been thoroughly cleared.
I mean, that makes sense. That's just them being, it's just them being safe, isn't it? I mean, it makes total sense for them to not throw one in there when they could have a potential of having another mine. I mean, that's a no-brainer, in it, to be honest with you. And I think they probably do that with a lot of the ships, to be honest with you.
To stay in the open ocean rather than entering confined areas where approaching threats are hard to sort out from other local traffic. It will keep moving to complicate the targeting challenge for enemies. It will also use links to other joint assets from the seabed to low Earth orbit to achieve detailed situational awareness.
Yeah. That one's a bit of a no-brainer, I think, that one. You could probably agree with me on that.
Number 5. New technology is bolstering carrier defense.
Yeah, because the volume of the music on this video is horrific. The US military news is usually like the best videos to watch for this stuff. Technology, let's be honest, the US has the best military technology, and it's because of the military industrial complex. Whether you think that's a detrimental kind of industry, which I think it definitely has aspects that's really dangerous. Like, you can definitely say there are people in the military industrial complex that want war so that they can make more money. You can go down the rabbit hole of people saying that, like, Lockheed Martin and stuff have UFOs, right? There is toxic things that the military industrial complex do in the US or around the world, you could say. But one of the things they do good is they innovate. And the technology they are able to create. I mean, look at the F-35. Look at the F-22. Look at the stealth bombers. Like, the technology they have is so good and so advanced that you would expect that their aircraft carriers, which are literally the biggest and best ships ever created on the history of this planet, of course they're going to have the best and latest technology that's going to be far superior than any other country. I mean, if you think about what other country might have technology like the US and the Navy, it's going to be anyone that is allies with the US. The UK probably has something similar. France and Germany probably have something similar with their aircraft carriers. Anything in NATO, basically. But even theirs wouldn't be as good as the US. Let's be totally honest.
Although there has been much speculation about emerging threats to aircraft carriers, the Navy invests heavily in new offensive and defensive technologies aimed at countering such dangers. The most important advance of recent years has been the netting together of all naval assets in an area so that sensors and weapons can be used to maximum effect.
That's the same as aircraft, which we've gone over. They've been really pushing this integrated communication system where basically with aircraft is like a big thing right now, where there'll be multiple F-35s in the air, multiple ground vehicles and other vehicles around, whether they're in the sky, in the water, or on the ground. And they will all the it's almost as if they've got the same not AI, sorry, UI, right? I said this in an aircraft video, and I'm using this as an analogy, and this isn't what it's like, but it's a good way of understanding what it's like for anyone who doesn't know. So, do you know how people will have an iPhone, and they're kind of automatically drawn to Apple Watches or an iMac because all of them devices communicate with each other, right? If you had a Samsung but then got an Apple Watch, there's barely any comms between the two. It's similar what they're doing with all of their fleet of everything, where they want everything to be very integrated. And I'm not saying, I'm just kind of giving a rough example of what I'm trying to talk about here, is they want their aircrafts to instantaneously be able to comms with things on the ground. Like they even had an F-35 shoot a, what they called on the ground. I did a video on them recently, the missile launchers on the ground. I forgot what it is. But they had the F-35 shoot it from the air, even though that was on the ground with people in it. So they want this type of you can call it like an intranet, if you know the difference between an internet and an intranet, which is what I learned many years ago in school. It's kind of like an internal system where everything can communicate with each other, kind of like Apple software. That's the best way for me to talk about. And they're really, really concentrating on that more than anything right now. That's like a big push recently that I've noticed in the videos, or at least the past few years. So just be aware of that.
Initiatives like the Naval Integrated Fire Control Counter-Air Program link together every available combat system in a seamless, fast-reacting defensive screen that few adversaries can penetrate. Numerous other advances are being introduced, from the penetrating recon capabilities of stealthy fighters to shipboard jamming systems to advanced obscurants that confuse the guidance systems of homing missiles.
Yeah. So smart.
Although the Navy has changed its tactics to deal with the proliferation of fast anti-ship missiles and the growing military power of China in the Western Pacific, large-deck aircraft carriers remain among the most secure and useful combat systems in America's arsenal. With the unlimited range and flexibility afforded by nuclear propulsion, there are few places they can't go to enforce US interests. And at the rate the Navy is investing in new warfighting technologies, that's likely to remain true for many decades to come.
What happened to the audio there? What happened to the audio? The music cut out. That's really weird. Do you know what I bet it's happened? I bet they got a copyright strike or a claim on the music they had in the background. And they've done that thing where... Yeah, because there's no audio. Isn't that weird?
Defensive technology.
The audio completely cuts out at the end. And it's definitely the video and not me, because you can go back.
High-performance sensors.
Which is interesting. Good video. I wonder if anyone says anything about that in the comments. Let's sort by new. No one mentioned anything about audio. Yeah, not sure if it's me, but the sound cuts out. Out of fat? What are you talking about, mate? Cuts out of fat? What are you talking about? Great video by US Military News as usual. I kind of gathered a lot of that stuff. I had a guesstimate on some of that stuff. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I love these videos. I love learning about aircraft carriers, and I love learning about the military over in the US. One, because I am a US citizen now, which if you didn't know that, USA. But I did move back to the UK. But it's also really important for me to just be aware of what these countries are capable of. And this is why I've been doing videos on NATO recently, because I have moved back to the UK now. The troubling countries are on our doorstep here in NATO, and so it's just nicer for me to know the current situation and also the current capabilities of the military. Get what I'm saying? I'll leave a link down below to the original video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Subscribe, guys. We're so close to 500,000. Let's do it. Let's have a party. It'll be a ton of fun. Other than that, I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.